Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for that invite, and thank you so much, members, for coming on board that we may learn together. Very good morning to each of you. I trust that you're doing well. Probably some of us are in the business sector, some of us are in every other place that you might be joining us from. Very much welcome. Thank you so much for choosing to join with us. As Elizabeth has said, my name is Martin Vess. And for today, I'll be guiding you through this session. So glad that you've joined. Martin Vess works with Octagon Africa, which is a financial services institution that is established to basically take care of your finances and ensuring that you're safeguarded rather in terms of your financial freedom. And of course, this then began back in the year 2007. So currently, we are proudly speaking of over 18 years in service. And majorly, our main aim is to ensure that we tap into your pension space in terms of, taking care of your retirement benefit, the benefit that you shall get as you're retiring. We also ensure that before you get that benefit, you're trained in terms of training. You ensure that you're trained in terms of financial literacy, both the pre and post-retirement trainings to ensure that then we are equipped, we are at par with whatever is expected of us, whatever is awaiting us at that very end of the tunnel. And of course, having said that, we also ensure that your risk is very much managed in terms of insurance. That is how we come on board and do insurance brokerage services to you. That is basically what we do. And of course, I want to also mention that we are glad to have footprints both in Kenya, in Uganda, and in Zambia. And I'm pretty sure that our friends from Zambia were joining. Our friends from Uganda, welcome so very much to this very meeting. I trust it shall be of enlightenment to all of us. Having mentioned that, I want to go straight to our discussion today. Having mentioned that, I want to go straight to our discussion today. And I want us to, there is this analogy that we keep having every single now and again that let us make resolutions every single year. Every single year we make resolutions, and more than often, some of us, well, they try and keep to the resolutions that they have made, but then majority of us do not really mean to that resolution. And so today we want to make some smart moves that ensures that the year 2026 actually counts in our lives. So if you are privileged to be in this year, be privileged as well to ensure that you're making moves that are smart enough financially to ensure that this year will count for the rest of your time and for the rest of your years. And so that is basically what we want to look into today, how then to make this year count in everything that we do, and especially into our finances rather. So I'll be engaging with us. I'll be ensuring that we are interactive. So please, if you have a question, you can use our chat box. Elizabeth will be reading us through the questions that you may have. If you also have comments, maybe clarity you may want to get further, you can still reach us on the chat box. Better still, I'll be engaging us with questions as we move on. So kindly be free. Feel free to answer. Feel free to respond. Every answer is right. They say in every adult class that every answer you give is right, depending on what perspective you are looking it into. And so that is basically how we will be engaging today and this very moment. So what are these smart moves that we have for this year? If one would want to ask you, do you have resolutions for 2026? Of course, some of us will say yes. Some might not have made one already, but I want to assure you that at the end of this very session, we have to grip something. You have to grasp something that will ensure that actually the year 2026 counts in your life. And it will be through the very smart moves that we shall be having. Now, I know that those of us who have already made moves, those of us who want to make the moves, and now we will be speaking to both the people who have already started moving and even for them who have not yet moved even an inch. So for the starters, you have to start right. For them who are starting to make something counts in their lives, you have to do what? you have to start right. There is this one thing that you have to do at the very beginning to ensure that you've gotten it right at the very beginning in terms of how you start. And for those who are building it, you have to build it right, friends. You have to ensure that where you're putting your eggs is at the right place. You have to ensure that where you're investing your funds is in the right place. You have to ensure that your goals are aligned well in the right way. And so for them that are already on with their investment goals, for them that are already on with their moves in terms of financial literacy and all that, you have to ensure that you're building it right. That is what we'll also look into. So for the starters, don't feel out. We shall be on to you in terms of how then do you start right. And even for them that want to build whatever they have, we'll also want to see how then do we build it so that we ensure that this year 2026 actually counts in our lives and especially in our financial life. And of course, we'll also want to see on how then to join the right avenues. I know that those of us who are already building whatever we have, but then once in a while you join an avenue that might not be actually the right avenue, and so that keeps draining us, keep giving us the notions of this thing can't work, this thing is a fallacy, this thing is only meant for so and so. Investment savings is meant for all of us. Financial freedom is meant for all of us. It is not a genealogical curse. It is not a family curse that me and my family we can't actually be financially free. No, everyone has to attain the financial freedom, and therefore the only things that makes us make statements like this is only meant for family A and B, it is because of the avenues that we are joining to ensure that we are actually free in terms of finances. And of course, the very last, not the very least, that we shall look into is how then do we automate the moves that we have, the moves that we've already made? How do we automate the right means that we've already chosen up there? Is there a way that can, so these things, they can plow back to us automatically rather than us training very, very much to ensure that then we are attaining something. So, having said that, I want to let us brainstorm a bit. Now, a recent statistics done by one of the very known financial provider, that is Old Mutual, said something that shocked my mind, and of course I know it will shock majority of us, and maybe some of us knows it already, that financial stress rather is a major concern, especially for them that are in the working space or in the working industry. And that statistics has it that among 10 individuals, there are four actually who are having high stress levels. And of course, those high stress levels are linked towards their financial freedom. And of course, the burden varies across demographics. Them that are closer to retirement at 16%. And of course, them that are actually in the informal sector at 15%. Now, it is quite shocking, friends. It is quite shocking that almost a half of the Kenyans acknowledge that financial stress is significantly impacting their mental and physical health. Now, maybe a question for thought as we're going on with this session is, by any chance your financial stress affecting you mentally? Is it affecting you physically? I know that those of us will be scratching their heads, January is here with us. We have school fees to pay. We have rents to pay. We have loans that we need to clear up. Are those stress actually affecting or rather impacting our mental well-being? Are they impacting our physical well-being? Now, if this is a true story to you, then this is the right class for us, so that then we can learn how to not be in the a half of the Kenyans who are actually into that financial stress space. Now, look at this, friends. These are posted by the New York Post, that is in the American space, which said something that is very shocking. That majority of us are too broke to break up. I don't know whether in our families, in our relationships, in whatever capacity that we have, are we too broke to break up? No, the statistics says that more Americans than ever are staying in relationships. Not because they really love that relationship, but because they can't afford to be single. Oh, so does it mean that you're too broke to be on your own? Does it mean that you're too broke to take care of yourself? And so you want to fix yourself into a relationship that actually doesn't work, but because of the financial freedom that you perhaps getting from there, you want to stick yourself there. Let us not be a people who are too broke to break up. This is a year that we want to ensure that everything that we do counts actually, to ensure that we stand up for ourselves, to ensure that we are actually free in matters our finances. Let us now go to the financial practices that are now going to make our year 2026 count. Allow me engage us probably through your chat box. What is it that you think when you do right this year? We are just but in January. What is it that you feel like when you do this year will actually make you a smiling father, a smiling mother, a smiling child? What is it that when we collectively do as citizens of this country, we'll move from the 50% that is financially stressed to closer to 80 or 90% of actually financially free people? What financial practice do you think that you can incorporate this year that will ensure that you are smiling? And of course, it will be a move that will put a smile to you every single time that you keep approaching your retirement age. You will remember actually that, oh, I began this back in the year 2026. I began making the right moves in the very year 2026. I began building it right in the year 2026. I joined into the appropriate avenues in the year 2026, and I actually automated the right moves that I have back in the year 2026. A self-introspective moment for you and for us. What is it that you can do differently this year that will ensure that actually your year counts? Is it that you don't know how to manage your resources? Is it that you have too little to actually multiply? Is it that whatever avenues that you have are not exposing you enough to the spaces that actually will earn you better? What is it that you can do this year that will ensure 2026 actually counts? Now, for us to ensure that it actually counts, then it means we have to be good mathematicians. And mathematicians in the house will say that for every sum, there has to be a calculation. For every quiz, it has to be solved. It has to be calculated. And so the very first thing that we'll have to do is calculate. But then before we calculate, a very famous quote says that if you aim at nothing, you will hit at it every single time. Now look at the person aiming. Probably you'll tell from where you sit. Where is the aim? Is it at the goal or is it at nothing? Probably some will say at nothing. Some will say slightly at the goal. Depends with how you're viewing the picture in your screen. Now, question is, when you are aiming at nothing in the year 2025, and that is the very, very point that you're still aiming in the very year 2026, what will you keep hitting? You will keep hitting at nothing. And therefore, this is a year that we need actually to have goals that we are aiming. This is the year that we don't need to sit and aim at completely nothing, because the more you aim at nothing, the more you hit at it gladly. And by the way, aiming at nothing is very easy. Just like you can see, it is just but pulling your and pointing at it everywhere. It will aim at completely nothing. But then this is a year that we need to aim at a goal. You need to slightly move up so that then your arrow points straight to what your goal is. And the question is, what goal do you have for 2026? What goal do you have for the next 5 years? And what goal do you have when you shall have attained your retirement? That is a big question. And so if you aim at a goal, But trust you me, you will hit at it every single time. But if you aim at nothing, you will equally hit at it every time very easily, as you can see in your screen. So how then do we ensure that we are not aiming at nothing, but aim at something? We need to calculate. This is a year that we need actually to calculate. As Octagon Africa, we are here to ensure that every single individual in 2026, as long as you've logged into this session, as long as you're listening to this session, you are actually calculating your resources. I know that some of us say that, we don't have much to calculate. That very little that you have, ensure that you are calculating it. That very little that you have, ensure that it is apportioned well. We need to calculate. If you really want to make a smart move in 2026, then let us ensure that we are calculating. The very next thing that we shall do after calculating, this I'll do into details even as we move on with the slides. We shall also ensure that we are putting aside. Now, some of us are very much used to, squandering everything or utilizing everything that we have at our disposal. This is the year to learn how to put aside. Remember, we are no longer aiming at nothing. We must aim at a goal. So then if you are aiming at a goal, you have to pick and put aside something. That is what we will want to see even as we move on with the slides. We have to postpone some things. Or friends, if this is the year that wants to come to you, then the things that we need to postpone, the things that are not actually necessary at this very moment, we need to push them ahead. We need to postpone them. And of course, if we want all this to be successful, then we have to manage that backlog that we are having. If you have to manage, if you have to be fruitful in the year 2026, you have to manage the backlog that you are having. And I know most of us, I'll speak to it in brief, how we are paying poverty premiums. Some of us pay poverty premiums without our knowledge. Someone is wondering what is it that is the poverty premium that we pay. We'll see into it. Now, how do we calculate? How do we put aside? How do we postpone? And how do we manage our backlogs? Now, calculation. This is the year for you to ensure that you have a simple plan that is actually showing your income vis-a-vis your expense. I know this is a common story to most of us, but then if you really want 2026 to count, start by making some plan, little plans, simple ones, to ensure that your income is aligned in one side, your expense are actually aligned in the other side. This gives you the mind to monitor that which you have as your income. This teaches you how to live within your means. Remember, we are no longer aiming at nothing. We are aiming at a goal. And for you to aim at that goal, you have to make right calculations. We have to calculate. We have to budget. You have to have a simple plan that is showing your income vis-a-vis your expense. I know most young people say you can't actually make a budget with 20,000. What we need to do, as the commoners say, pigia mwili pole. Well, not bad, not bad. But remember, if you keep aiming at nothing, you will hit at it every single time. If you have a goal, you will see the importance of actually having a simple plan that is showing how much you brought in as your income and what are the outlet streams, what are your expenses, having aligned them in order. This will also give you the power to control your money. I know those of us who are earning good monies, we say that we use it until it becomes manageable, then now we can calculate. No. When we have a simple plan showing what you're earning and what you are expending, you'll then have the power to take control of that money. Because when you get your 500,000 today, that is your income. Maybe probably your income is only through that salary, and you already have your expenses on the other side. You're calculating your expenses vis-a-vis the income. That gives you the power actually to say that, I am the one in control of this money, not the money controlling you. So that then you only reduce it to a manageable level where now you can say, oh, so it is depleting. I can now plan. No. You need to plan at the very beginning. You need to calculate. If you want to aim at the goal and not at nothing, then this is a year for us to do calculations. Beginning from this very month of January, as you're getting your salary, I know those of us who are getting salaries come next week, please ensure that you have a simple plan that is showing how much you earn vis-a-vis your expense. That will ensure that this year you're taking control of your money and you are aiming at your goal. And of course, that then gives you the power to identify opportunities for saving. Friends, you cannot have something to put aside unless you have a simple plan that is showing these are the streams that you'll be channeling your money to. And that is the only opportunity that you'll have to identify that, look here, I have some little coins that I can put in that savings platform. Look here, I have some little coins that I can put into that, money market. I can put into that individual pension plan. I can put in whatever avenue that we shall be seeing through in this very session. So if you really want to have that power to identify the opportunities for saving, then you need to calculate. I already mentioned that this is a year that we really need to make it count. And of course, after calculating, after budgeting, rather after having the simple plan that is showing your income vis-a-vis your expense, you need to be having something to be putting aside. You need to be having some wallets, I know some of us no longer use wallets anyway. We say it's passed by events. Well, you may have these wallets instead. You may have an individual pension plan wallet where you're putting aside something for your retirement. You can have an unit trusts wallet. You can have a bills and bonds wallet. I know these are somehow strange to some of us, but not strange to all of us. Now, let me break them down bit by bit. Now, as an individual, as long as you are here with us in 2026, you need to put aside something towards your individual pension plan, especially if you do not have any retirement savings platform within your organization. If you're employed for this instance and you do not have a pension scheme within your reach, then be be this person who this year you're going to make a difference by putting something aside into an individual pension plan. And this is basically a pension plan that enables you as an individual to ensure that you are having savings towards your retirement. You actually looking forward to a better retirement where you'll be having a source of income to ensure that your livelihood is actually maintained even after work. And the beauty about the individual pension plan that you're putting aside is that you are not restricted on how much you put aside. Remember, each of us have different incomes. And so even as you're doing your simple plan, you actually know how much is your income and what are your expenses. That will ensure that you have the power to identify the opportunities that are available for you to save, and one of them being the individual pension plan. Now, you'll be deducting, or rather getting some little coins from your income to put into the individual pension plan to ensure that then that money earns you interest. It continues plowing the interest compoundedly until you attain your retirement age, which then will come in as your savior. I said it right. It will come in as your savior because remember, right now you're working, then you'll not be working. Who will be paying your bills? Who will be paying your common expenditures, your meals, your clothing, all that stuff combined together? It is something that you're putting aside. You have to put aside to ensure that, look here, this I cannot use now, this I will use in my 60s. This I cannot use now, this I'll use in my village. Most of us retire in the village, whichever. These I'll use in my vacation in Mombasa. So ensure that you're putting aside into your individual pension plan, and I'll tell us how more later. Ensure that you also have a wallet, rather a box somewhere that you're putting in your unit trusts, and this will entail the money market funds, the fixed deposits, I mean, not the fixed deposit, but the fixed deposit accounts, the money market accounts. Ensure that you're having something that is put aside into this very wallet. Why? Because it will one time come in as your savior as well. I'll explain that in details much later. And of course, we have bills and bonds, we have shares and stock, and also we have the real estates. Now, in this very platform, I have mixed both the savings platforms and the investment platforms, and I'll explain as the difference between the two. So that then you ensure that you are actually putting something into your savings, you're actually putting something into your investments. And just but to mention it in passing as well, that majority of us have this analogy, or rather the mental thinking that, I cannot invest in bonds. Why? Simply because I don't have how do they call it, the right premiums to deposit into those bonds and the T-bills and the what have yous. Well, it is because you are not yet in this session. Now that you are in this session, we are ensuring that 2026 actually counts. Now, if you really want to invest in the government bonds, in the corporate bonds, then ensure that you are doing some little savings into the unit trust. This can be done in transfer, like you putting something into your unit trust into your money market, so that then as it gives you the interests, as it grows day by day, it will eventually amount to something close to hundreds of thousands that now you can use to buy a corporate bond somewhere, to buy a government bond somewhere. You can actually buy the infrastructure bond as long as they are floated out. But then, how then do you reach there? You ensure that you move that you're going to use this year of starting a money market fund actually comes to fruition, because it is these resources that will help you to actually buy that floated infrastructure bond come 2 years' time or the 3 years' time. So let us not be this, generations that say the corporate bonds, the government bonds, the treasury bills are only meant for the rich people. No, it's meant for you. It's meant for me. It is meant for you. It is meant for me. A typical example, if you're saving, you're putting aside something in your money market. For instance, you're putting aside, let me say 10,000. 10,000. Every single month you're putting aside 10,000. Now look at 10,000 in 12 months. That is how much? That is 120, right? Yeah, that is 120,000. Now 120,000, you've not yet done any interest. Remember, money markets gives you interest on a daily basis. Now the interest varies. Some may give you 8, but of course I'll present to you one that is Octagon Money Market Trust that ensures that you get very good returns. Now you can even equally get an interest of 13%. Now imagine the 120,000 vis-a-vis the interest of 13% that you've been earning. That will be some good lump sum, is it? Yeah, it is. So imagine you pulling from your money market fund a sum of close to, let me say 200, 500,000, you buying in some treasury bills that are floated, you buying in some corporate bonds, you're buying in some infrastructure bond that is floated. But of course, again, some of us might be having some lump sum somewhere that is just resting, some 1 million that is just resting somewhere. You can actually use that to ensure that your money is working for you, or rather is actually earning interest for you. And those of us who also love real estate, you can as well do some, putting aside for real estate. You can do that for educational policies, especially for those who want to take care of their children's education. Please ensure that you have an education policy for your child. That 5,000 that you're putting aside every single now and again will ensure that this child actually schools without any issue in terms of their payment of school fees. That will be that will be taken care of. And of course, circles. I won't fail to mention of circles. Those of us who in circles as well. Circles is a very good avenue where you can actually save. And of course, then it also gives you the platform to actually get more in terms of your borrowing. Now, I mentioned earlier that I've bundled together both the savings and the investment into this very into this very slide. But then allow me clarify the two. Now, when you're saving, you're actually saving it for security purpose. You're saving it so that it can secure you for tomorrow. Oh, most of us don't know what will happen come February. Most of us don't know what will happen come tomorrow, not even February, come tomorrow. And so you are putting aside something in your savings so that then it gives you security that in the eventuality of anything happening, you actually have something that can sustain you for the time being. You're also doing the savings for you to survive. I'll explain this. You're also doing the savings for you to preserve. You are preserving some coins somewhere, and you're also doing the savings just but to protect, for protection purposes. If you really want to, protect your how do I call it? Your funds, you can have some saving platforms. You can have the individual saving, your individual pension plan, you can have the money market fund and all that. But then we invest to ensure that we are growing now. I know some of us want to save, some of us want to invest, some of us want to do both. It is equally important that we do both. It is equally important that we save and we invest as well. But if you don't have the capacity to do both, ensure that you're saving, to ensure that that savings will help you to do what? To invest. And how is the investment equated to? Investment is equated to growth. When you're growing, when you're thriving, when you're multiplying that which you have, you're actually investing. And that is why you will hear most of you saying that, I can buy this bond, I can buy that bond, I can buy, all that fixed deposit somewhere. It actually creates some value in whatever you have as a resource. That is why you will hear most of us say that I am this worth. I am this worth because I have actually invested in so many avenues that have actually ensured that I have grown, that I have multiplied that which I have, that I have thrived into this space to ensure that actually there is value for that which I have as a resource. Now, I am moving with speed and I'll be done before you realize, because remember our timing is also moving. Now, I also mentioned earlier that when you're doing your smart moves for 2026, ensure that you're starting right, ensure that you're building it right, ensure that you're joining the right avenues, and ensure that you're automating. But remember, for you to do all those smart moves, you have to calculate, you have to put aside, you have to postpone some other activities, and you have to manage. And of the things that we are managing is the debt. Now, look at your screen. At times, we carry too much weight in terms of debt that makes us bend so low and bend so early to the point of, we can no longer make it. Now, what is this weight that we are carrying? We are carrying weights of obligations to be grateful to people. Ah, I know most of us want to look good. Most of us wants to look, loving and lovable in the society. Well, it's a good thing to be loved. It's a good thing to look lovable. But then remember not to put that entire obligation to be grateful to people in your back. Because before you realize it, friends, you'll be bending and you'll be bending too low. Now, this is the year that you don't need to really, spend something before you earn it. Ensure that you deal with whatever backlog that you have in terms of debt, but no longer allow yourself to go into too much of your debts just for the sake of you know, being deemed as the best in the society because of how you helping. Some of us go to the extent of, you know, helping people with in terms of borrowing. You borrow here to help someone. No, no, that is not something that we need to do this year. If you want to help, please help out of what you have. If you don't actually have something to help with, it is not saying, my brother, my sister, please let us not carry the obligations to be grateful to people this year, 2026, because some of us are paying poverty premiums. Remember, I mentioned these at the very beginning. Now, a typical example is a very easy one, Fuliza. Now, most of us use Fuliza. I was just checking into Fuliza the other day and I realized something that is quite amazing. That the fees looks too minimal to be not noticed. But remember, accumulated, they make significant impact into our finances. There are commissions that you're paying in that very Fuliza that you're taking. There are some allow me call them the installment fee or the arrangement fees that we pay. Well, they may look so minimal, 1 shilling, 2 shillings. But remember, they are compounding. Today you take Fuliza, tomorrow you take Fuliza, the next day you take Fuliza. Oh, some of us work on Fuliza. Some of us live on Fuliza. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, the danger is not using the Fuliza. The danger is living in that Fuliza, friends. Let us not be a people this year who lives in the Fuliza, who lives in the Mshwari. Well, there are avenues that helps us, meet some obligations that we might not be actually able to. But then, as much as you might want to use it, please don't live in it. Don't be a person who actually, every single time you're paying premiums, it is just the poverty premiums because of the too much interest that we pay, because of the too much taxes that we pay, the annual fees that actually we pay for these very avenues that we borrow from. You may not notice because they're minimal, because of the urgency of the resource that you need. But remember, don't this year spend before you earn. Well, others can wait. Others can be postponed. Those of us who want to look for vehicles this year. I know those of us who wants to look for, good things this year. Well, that is good to look for good things. But if actually you can't afford it right now, the things that you can postpone, the things that you can push ahead to ensure that you plan for them, ensure that you are actually aiming at a goal. My goal is to have the savings to this much that then even as I'm looking for that loan in a bank, I actually have something that I can top up that very simple single loan that I shall get to ensure that not every single time you look at yourself, you look at yourself as a debt carrier. Every single time you look at yourself, you look at yourself as a premium pay, a poverty premium payer. No, that is not who we want to be this year. So if you want to make the smart moves, please ensure that you are avoiding the debts, you are avoiding the spending before earning, you are avoiding to be seen lovable because of giving, yet you're giving not of what you have, but of what you've borrowed. Let us not borrow to give. Let us give because we have actually that which we can give, because of how we shall have calculated. As you're doing your income allocation, income expense, please put aside something that this will cater for every other thing that may come about in terms of helping the needy. Some of us are so good in charity. Well, it is a good thing to be charitable, to give out to people. But then let us not give out to people to the extent of giving out whatever we've actually borrowed. That is what will make this year actually count for you. And so even as I'm almost coming to the end, there are these beautiful things. Now, if you look at your screen, you'll see that rocket. And of course, I know most of us know that rocket moves with a lot of speed. So this year, you need to move with speed. The things that you really need to move with speed from and to. Now, what is it that you need to move with speed from? You need to move with speed from the debts that you're carrying. You need to move with speed from the obligations that you're putting yourself into and move with speed towards things that are going to ensure that actually 2026 counts. The smart moves. And of course, we are all saying that you need to move with speed, then move Africa will ensure that we're providing you with an avenue where you can save in the individual pension plan on what we have known as Octagon Individual Pension Plan or Octagon Personal Pension Plan. Now, this is a savings platform to ensure that you as an individual actually puts us, and the beauty about this is, friends, let us not wait for millions. Let us not wait for, too many coins for us to be putting aside something. That which you have, the individual pension plan allows you to even save a 500 Kenyan shillings. Oh, I didn't mention, it even allows you to save 100 bob. You can imagine? You can imagine? If you start today, if you start early with Octagon, you can move with speed to ensure that your Octagon personal pension plan is actually be of benefit to you when you have attained your retirement age. Because I know at one single point, we are all retiring. At one single point, we are all moving out of the workspace. Now, what will take care of us? It is the benefits that we shall have saved with Octagon Individual Pension Plan. We also have very good people here who are HR. I know there are HRs, probably HRs in the room, and you have people that you're giving benefits to, and perhaps they may not be having the benefit of pension within that very institution or very organization. And so for them, we also have an avenue that you can move with speed as an HR to ensure that you put them into an umbrella scheme, what we call Octagon umbrella scheme. Just that just ensures that as much as you're giving benefits to your employees, you're also taking care of after work life of your employees to ensure that that very little coin that you can give yourself as an employer, yourself as an employee, you're actually building into your wealth, your future wealth, some source that you shall be pulling even as you reflect upon your work life. And of course, Octagon Money Market, and of course, Octagon Group Last Expense, Octagon Trust, and Octagon Medical Cover. Now, I am almost getting to an end. I'm not pretty sure whether there are questions. If there are, please let us use the chat box. Please, if there is any question, you can post me at any point and ask. I am almost done, and of course, I'll be giving us time to also ask questions in the chat box and even verbally through the microphone. And so as I am almost coming to an end, I've already mentioned about the Octagon Personal Pension Plan, basically a platform for the self-employed individuals, that is you and me, and of course them that are in the NGOs, them that are in the SMEs, of course, but then you are not having this opportunity to save with your employer. You can, as an individual, as an employee, have the mandate to ensure that 2026 actually counts by putting some coins into Octagon Personal Pension Plan. Now, this will ensure that you are actually taking care of a benefit that you are almost having when you exit your workspace. And of course, this comes in with several advantages, one of them being the tax advantage. I know that those of us who are having payslips here, and if you're having a payslip, one of the things that you really want to see moved from that payslip are the things that are eating on your gross. Those are the taxes. And of the very first thing that will ensure that your taxes actually are reduced is the pension. Mhm. I mentioned it right. So if you really want to ensure that you're having a bit more lesser tax than you're paying, then ensure that at least you have a pension plan with you. And if you don't have one with your employer, please join an individual pension plan with us at Octagon Africa. That will actually ensure that you are enjoying the tax benefit as much as you're looking for the benefits that you shall get at the very tail end during your after after employment periods. And of course, the very other thing that I will also want to speak about that I've already mentioned in the other slide is on the umbrella scheme. And this basically is for the HRs, the managers who are in this very platform. Now, the beautiful thing is that there is a multi-employer pension fund where different employers, employer A, employer B, joins together under that one umbrella fund or under that umbrella plan that ensures that the funds or rather the resources that are channeled into that very pool of umbrella plan is actually invested together and the interest distributed to your employees. Now, you are coming in as an employer, but you're bringing on board your employee. Employer one is bringing in the employees. Employer two is also bringing in the employees. Now, this is a benefit actually that you're giving to them. So if you are an HR in the room, if you are a manager in the room, please ensure that 2026 does not only count to you, but also counts the people that are under you by ensuring that they actually are onboarded into the Octagon umbrella scheme. And of course, that then will come along with very good interest. This is basically suitable for the SMEs, the MSMEs, the people in the informal sector, the people in the formal sector still, but do not have actually the pension scheme arrangement, or the schemes, or rather the organizations that are actually starting up. If you're an organization that is starting up and you may not really have the financial resources or the muscles to, pull in and start your own pension scheme, then please ensure that you have an Octagon umbrella scheme with you. And if you're an employee in an organization in this very platform and you know your employer does not give you this as a benefit, you can also tag us along that you may come and ensure that we then speak to your employer to ensure that this is a benefit that you're actually having in this year 2026 so that it can then count for you. I know we are saying that we are making 2026 count. Now, if it doesn't count for you, let it count for someone that is next to you or under you. And this is one of the very best platforms that you can ensure that 2026 counts. Because when you start today, you are guaranteed a financial future that is actually of value to you as an employee. And of course, another thing that I also have in mind for us is the trust fund. I know some of us have heard of this before, the pension trust fund, where now you create a pool of benefit, you channel your benefit into the plan, just but to ensure that your beneficiaries or rather the dependents are well taken care of in the eventuality that you are not actually in the picture. And of course, then this will cater for their school fees, this will cater for their, and of course, even for them who wants to start charitable works, maybe you want to do some charity, you can open the Octagon Trust Fund with us. We actually invest those resources for you to ensure that then the beneficiaries actually benefit uh, the benefits when they have already attained their very good interest. And of course, I'd mentioned earlier about the Octagon money market, which is actually a pooled investment where it actually has the short-term low risk financial instruments. You borrow from them, you either actually invest, and of course that then ensures that you're earning interest. And I'd mentioned earlier that these interests are earned on a daily basis. You can actually monitor this. So if you really want to put aside some resources for money market, please ensure that you put it with Octagon Money Market, because every single time you'll be monitoring how much interest have I earned on a single basis. That accrued will actually give you the capital preservation itself, as much as there are lots of interest that shall have also been accrued. And I love giving this analogy with them that are going to probably buy something from the supermarket. I'm coming to an end. You're going to buy something from the supermarket, and for convenience, maybe you are having some good lump sum. You want to go buy some, good packages. It is quite easy to go with your car, right? It is quite easy to go with your car. And therefore, what do you do to your car so that it can give you the convenience of, buying from that very supermarket, the things that you're buying, you will park it aside. And of course, most of the supermarkets have the parking space. And therefore, if you really want a parking space for your cash, then Octagon Money Market is a parking space for you. It is a parking space for you. So then it ensures that that capital is preserved, and of course there are interests that are also earned every single now and again to ensure that if you really want to go for the bond that I was talking about, you can actually use your resources from the money market to go buy that bond. And last but not least is the Octagon Group Last Expense Cover that ensures that your loved ones are actually given a befitting send-off. And of course, this secures the peace of mind, especially during that point of grief in terms of the financial burden. We come in handy. You just give in some little premiums this year. And of course, that caters for the entire of the year. You're actually making the year counts for you, because in the eventuality that something happens, which we don't pray that it happens, but if it does, because it is normal, they do happen, then you actually have something that will ease your financial pressure during that grief period. And of course, then that in one way or the other shall have made you a year count. And of course, that is the year 2026. And so even as I'm giving it back to Liz, I'm giving it back to you. But before I give it back to Liz, ensure that as you are moving into this year 2026, let us be intentional. If you want to calculate, let us be intentional. Remember, we said by the very beautiful saying that we realized earlier on, that if you keep aiming at nothing, you will hit at it every single time, and very easily, of course. So if you really want to make 2026 count, be intentional about how you calculate, be intentional about how you put aside, be intentional on whatever things you want postponed, and also be intentional about how you manage your debts. You can review this annually. I know this year you have your annual plan, financial annual plan. This is what you want to do. These are your goals. Every single year, you can always do the review, just but to ensure that you're still having the focus at the goal. And of course, the very other thing that you need to do this year to ensure that it actually counts for you, stay informed. As Octagon Africa, we offer several trainings on financial matters, just but to ensure that every single trend that we have in terms of the changes in the market industry, you are well informed to ensure that you're also making informed decision this year. And of course, that will also come in the cumulative or subsequent years. And of course, the last but not the very least is act consistently. Don't be this person who starts calculating in January, in February, in March, you've stopped calculating, you've gone back to your other expenditures that you used to do. If you choose to make 2026 count, then act consistently. If you choose to put some little coins into your Octagon personal pension, then put it there consistently. If you choose to open a money market with Octagon Africa, then ensure that you are consistent so that then that accrues in terms of interest that you shall also be earning. If you want to see result, then the only way to see result is consistency. Otherwise, thank you so much. Back to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Martin. That was a very insightful session. I see we have one question in the chat section from Osula Michael. I will read it to you. I also see Dirode is asking, how do I start investing in the Octagon money market? Since we don't have much time left to continue with this meeting, Dirode, you registered for this webinar. We have your contacts. We'll have someone reach out to you and explain the process to you. In any case, if any of you have any questions you'd like to reach out to us after this, our email is on the chat section. Training at Octagon Africa. Oh yeah, I see we have interest in the money market fund you'd like to be contacted about. Just type it down in the chat section and we will reach out to you after this training. If you're interested in any other product as well, please type it down in the chat section and we'll be able to give you a call. Sorry, Dorothy. We'll reach out to you. So as people comment on the chat section, Martin, let me read out to you what Osula is asking. He's saying, what risks does this Octagon Africa pension fund face, and what measures are in place to manage or reduce those risks? Please say something on this. Thank you very much for your insightful presentation.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you for that question. Well, there are risks that you incur. Of course, every single thing that you do, there are always risks. But the beauty about it is the last bit of this question is on how then we mitigate. Of course, as a financial institution, we have to ensure that we are having mitigation strategies in place to ensure that then they do not directly affect our members. And of course, one of the risks are in terms of the interest that are being declared in the market. Of course, that then will be on the investment. Sometimes, the market performs a little poor, and that equally plows back to the member. And of course, then we as Octagon Africa, as much as we are guaranteeing you your financial freedom, we want to ensure that those very avenues that we are actually investing our resources or our funds into are avenues that are gonna give you best returns. And of course, with this diversity, we ensure that then that very one collapse is mitigated out, just but to ensure that then we are balancing in terms of risks, we are balancing in terms of the interest that we shall give, and of course that resonates back to what interest you get into your contribution. So for that person who asked the question, well, there are risks, especially on matters, the returns that are supposed to be declared, and of course, then we are mitigating by ensuring that we have diverse investment portfolios that we, of course, do that investment in, and that then, of course, gives you that as a sustainable interest in terms of how much you're earning. But then again, to also bring you to speed, is that as at Octagon Africa, we are actually not the investor, we are actually the administrator. We ensure that then those that are on our portfolio as investors, we have various investors that we deal with as Octagon Africa. And of course, that then also cushions in terms of how much interest they are giving to you as our members. So, well, there are risks, but of course, then we are mitigating them to ensure that you are not affected directly, and not only directly, but rigorously. Allow me to say so. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you for that, Martin. Equinoite is asking, how can I transfer my contribution from other schemes to add to my contribution?
Well, thank you for that question. Scheme to scheme Equinox is allowed. Scheme to scheme transfer is allowed. You can do a transfer from scheme A to scheme B. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, in the smart moves that you need to have this year, you need to ensure that among your smart moves is that you're automating every single process. And so as Octagon Africa, rather, we have a very robust system that ensures that you as Econoid, as you're transferring your contributions, you don't really actually have to go to that very, very employer to ensure that you write the paperwork, you pull the paper back to Octagon and all that. You can do this through our system. We can help you. Just log into the system. We create for you an account, the individual pension plan account. You log into the system. That very scheme will appear, and of course, then you'll do a scheme to scheme transfer from that previous scheme to Octagon personal pension scheme. And of course, that then comes with all the contributions plus the interest that we can help you seamlessly from our end. Back
Thank
to you,
you.
Liz.
Thank you, Martin, for that. I'm seeing more interest on the money market fund from Stanley. Diana, we will be sure to reach out to you after this training. Anybody else who's interested in any product, feel free to type in down the chat section. We'll be able to reach out to you, give you more information from the asset management side of things. If you want any information on any of our pension products as well, please type it down on the chat section. Martin, it has been great having you. Very insightful information to set us through the year, and I hope the members will take to heart what you've trained us as well. And I know that we're going to be having a financially secure 2026. So thank you once again so much. Thank you, members, for also taking time to join us today. We do not take it for granted. We have these sessions every month, so be sure to be on the lookout on your emails, on our social media channels to know when is the next one. We'll be glad to have you there, absolutely free. So tell a friend to tell a friend. It's exactly 12:05. I want to wish you a lovely weekend. God bless you, and I hope to see you next month on our next webinar. So God bless you so much. Don't leave the meeting if you haven't typed down the chat section so that we can prioritize contacting you after the webinar. So thank you so much. We are here to guarantee your financial security.